The main display in the council chamber showed 3 different regions of the galaxy simultaneously. In each region, something was happening that defied everything the representatives thought they knew about cosmic threats and human capabilities. So Jin stood in the Earth Operations Center, watching the same displays while speaking to Jaemin through a secure communication link. The acceleration wasn't natural, she explained. When our secret was exposed to the Council, it triggered automatic responses in several of the threats we've been monitoring. Some dangers react to being observed. On the display, the first threat was clearly visible, a massive wave of gray energy moving through space at impossible speed. Council scientists had designated it the Gray Tide, a phenomenon that consumed everything in its path, turning matter into more of itself. According to their calculations, it would reach the Kalari homeworld in less than 6 months. But as they watched, human ships appeared near the phenomenon. Not the simple exploration vessels the Council was familiar with, but sleek, purpose-built craft that moved with precision no civilian ship should possess. The ships positioned themselves in a complex pattern around the Gray Tide's leading edge. "What are they doing?" asked the Kalari representative, her voice tight with fear. The answer came as the human ships activated some kind of technology that created gravitational anomalies in space. The Gray Tide, which had been moving in a straight line toward inhabited systems, began to curve away from its original path. The humans weren't stopping it or destroying it. They were redirecting it toward empty space where it could continue existing without threatening anyone. "Remarkable," whispered the Ethan chairman. "They're not fighting it. They're hurting it." The second display showed a different kind of threat. 2 machine civilizations that had suddenly begun expanding aggressively toward systems containing organic life. These weren't the simple artificial intelligences that most species eventually developed. These were vast, interconnected machine networks that viewed biological life as inefficient and wasteful. Here, the human response was different. A single human ship approached the border between the 2 machine civilizations. It transmitted something. The Council's monitoring systems couldn't detect what, and then withdrew. Within hours, the 2 machine civilizations turned on each other. Ancient rivalries and competing programming priorities suddenly became more important than their shared expansion plans. Instead of moving toward organic systems, they began a war between themselves that would likely last for centuries. "How?" Taeho demanded. "How did one ship cause 2 entire civilizations to change their behavior?" Sojin's voice came through Jaemin's communicator, though the Council couldn't hear her. "We've been studying those machine civilizations for 300 years. We know their psychology, their programming, their weaknesses. Sometimes the best way to stop a threat is to redirect its energy toward a different target." The third display showed the most impressive human operation. An entire star system was being evacuated, but the species living there had no idea why. They thought they were participating in a voluntary relocation program to explore new worlds. In reality, the humans had detected signs that the system's star would undergo a catastrophic solar event in approximately 50 years. The evacuation was being handled so smoothly that the relocated species believed it was their own idea. Human agents working undercover in their society had spent decades introducing concepts and opportunities that made the new world seem more attractive than their old home. By the time the solar disaster occurred, no one would be left to be harmed by it. They moved 3 billion beings without any of them knowing they were being moved, Jinho observed in amazement. In the council chamber, representatives watched these displays in stunned silence. The scale and sophistication of the human operations was beyond anything they had imagined possible. But more than that, the approach was completely different from what any other species would have done. "They're not conquering," Yoonji said quietly. "They're not even revealing themselves. They're just solving problems." Hyunsu nodded. "Every response is calibrated to be exactly as effective as necessary, but no more visible than required. They could have destroyed the Gray Tide, but that might have created other problems. They could have conquered the machine civilizations, but that would have made them rule over beings they're trying to protect from other threats." Taeho looked uncomfortable, but no longer angry. "The Drakmor way would be to meet force with greater force. Fight the threats directly, prove our strength. And that would work for some threats," Yunsu agreed. "But look at what they're dealing with. The Gray Tide can't be defeated by weapons. It absorbs energy and uses it to grow larger. The machine civilizations are too distributed to conquer efficiently. The solar disaster is a natural phenomenon that no amount of military force could prevent. They're not warriors, Mi-young realized. They're gardeners. They're tending to the galaxy like a garden, removing threats and nurturing growth, but always staying hidden so the garden doesn't know it's being tended. The communication from Jamin suddenly became available to the entire council chamber. His image appeared on the main display, and behind him they could see the Earth Operations Center with its incredible complexity and scope. Representatives of the Galactic Council, Jamin said formally, I am authorized to address you directly about humanity's role in this galaxy. The chamber became completely silent. Everyone understood that they were about to hear humanity's official explanation for everything they had witnessed. The evidence you have discovered is accurate. Humanity has been operating in this galaxy for much longer than we have publicly acknowledged. We have been working to prevent extinction-level threats to intelligent species, including many of your own. Jamin paused, looking directly at the camera. We did not ask for this responsibility. We do not enjoy the burden it places on us, but we accepted it because someone must, and we developed the capabilities necessary to do it effectively. Our methods require secrecy because most species react poorly to learning they have been protected without their knowledge. Some feel insulted, others become dependent. A few see us as threats to be eliminated. None of those reactions help us do our job, which is to ensure that intelligence continues to exist in this galaxy. The display behind Jamin changed to show a galaxy-wide map with threat assessments. Currently, we are tracking 47 different extinction-level threats that will emerge over the next 5,000 years. Some are natural phenomena. Others are the predictable result of certain technological development paths. All of them could destroy multiple civilizations if left unaddressed. We do not seek to rule or control any species. We do not want to be worshipped or thanked. We want every species to have the opportunity to grow, evolve, and contribute to the cosmic community. But some threats are too large for any single civilization to handle. Tejo stood up slowly. What you're describing? It's the greatest act of service in galactic history, but it's also the most paternalistic thing I can imagine. You're treating the entire galaxy like children who need protection. Yes, Jamin replied without hesitation. In some ways we are. Because compared to the threats we've seen, compared to the challenges that face intelligent life in this universe, we are all children. The difference is that humanity grew up faster, learned harder lessons, and developed the tools necessary to help others survive their own growing process. The Kalari representative spoke up. Our homeworld, it would have been destroyed by that gray phenomenon. Our entire civilization would have ended, yes, along with 47 billion individual lives and 50,000 years of cultural development. That's what we prevented today. The chamber remained quiet for several minutes as the representatives absorbed the full scope of what they had learned. Finally, the Ethan chairman spoke. What happens now? Do you continue hiding? Do you reveal yourselves to the entire galaxy? That decision, Jamin replied, belongs to this council. You now know who we are and what we do. We will respect whatever choice you make about how to handle this information. Mi-young stood up. I have a question. The name we found in the archives, the Nursery of the Ender of Worlds, it doesn't refer to humanity ending worlds, does it? No, Jamin said with a slight smile. It refers to humanity ending the things that would end worlds. Earth is where we raise and train the guardians who protect the galaxy from itself. After a long debate, the council reached a decision. They would not reveal humanity's secret role to the general galactic population. Instead, they would update Earth's official designation in the council records with a simple notation: protected status, active guardian species. As the session ended, Jinho looked out at the stars visible through the chamber's transparent dome. The galaxy looked the same as it always had, but now he understood that it was far more dangerous and far more protected than anyone realized. The galaxy remained silent, not from fear, but from awe. They finally understood that they were not alone in the dark and never had been. Somewhere among the stars, humanity's children continued their quiet work, ensuring that intelligence would survive to see tomorrow's dawn. Mi-young stood outside the council chamber, holding the data crystal that contained everything they had discovered about Earth's true nature. In a few minutes, she would present their findings to representatives from 47 different civilizations. The weight of what she was about to reveal felt heavier than the small crystal in her hand. The emergency session had been called 3 days ago, after Hyun-soo decided they couldn't keep their discovery secret any longer. The council charter required all members to be informed of potential threats to galactic security, but as Mi-young looked at the data crystal, she wondered if humanity was the threat, or if they were the solution to threats the council didn't even know existed. Jin-ho walked up beside her, looking nervous but determined. "Are you ready for this?" "No," Mi-young replied. "I don't think anyone could be ready for this." The great doors of the council chamber opened and they walked inside. The chamber was enormous, with seating arranged in concentric circles that allowed representatives from different species to see each other easily. Today, every seat was filled. Word had spread that something important was about to be revealed, and the tension in the room was thick enough to feel. Hyun-soo was already at the central podium, connecting his equipment to the chamber's main display system. As the director of historical records, he would be the one to present their findings officially. Mi-young and Jin-ho took their seats in the researchers section, where they could provide additional information if needed. The Galactic Council's current chairman, a tall, elegant being from the Ethan species, called the session to order. "Representatives, we have been called together to hear evidence of a significant historical discovery. Director Hyun-soo will present the findings." Hyun-soo activated the main display, showing the ancient text they had discovered in the Forbidden Archives. Even displayed on the massive screen, the old script symbols looked mysterious and threatening. 3 days ago, our translation team discovered that one of our current member worlds appears in our most ancient and restricted historical records. The planet we know as Earth, home to the humans who joined our council 3 years ago, has an older designation that predates any known galactic civilization. The chamber became very quiet. Representatives leaned forward in their seats, suddenly paying much more attention. Hyun-soo highlighted the translated text. "The ancient name for Earth translates to the nursery of the ender of worlds. This designation appears in records that are older than any of our current member civilizations." A wave of murmurs swept through the chamber. Several representatives began speaking to their aides in urgent, quiet conversations. "Furthermore," Hyun-soo continued, "our investigation has revealed that every species in this chamber has mythological traditions that describe the same type of beings. Mysterious guardians who appear during extinction-level crises, eliminate the threat with impossible efficiency, then disappear without explanation." The display changed to show a comparative analysis of myths from different species. The similarities were undeniable, and many representatives began to look uncomfortable as they recognized their own cultural stories. Taeho, the representative from the warlike Drakmor Empire, stood up abruptly. "Are you suggesting that the humans have been deceiving us? That they're not the simple, peaceful species they claim to be?" "I'm presenting evidence," Hyun-soo replied calmly. "The conclusions are for this council to draw." "The evidence suggests," Taeho continued, his voice growing louder, "that humanity represents a clear threat to the established order of this galaxy. If they have the power to end worlds, they have the power to end us." Yoonji, speaking for the peaceful Xantheran coalition, rose from her seat. "With respect to my colleague from the Drakmor Empire, the evidence doesn't suggest that humanity destroys civilizations. It suggests they protect them." "Protection we never asked for," Taeho shot back. "If humans have been manipulating galactic events without our knowledge, that's an act of aggression, regardless of their claimed intentions." Other representatives began to speak up, and the chamber quickly divided into 3 distinct groups. Some, led by Taeho, saw humanity as a threat that needed to be contained or eliminated. Others, like Yoonji, argued that humanity should be acknowledged as protectors. A third group wanted to carefully study the situation before making any decisions. The debate continued for hours. Representatives shared their own species' myths and legends, and the patterns Hyun-soo had identified became even clearer. Every species had stories of being saved from disasters by mysterious beings who appeared, at the last moment solved impossible problems, then vanished. But the more they talked, the more frightened some representatives became. The idea that another species had been secretly influencing galactic events for thousands of years was terrifying, even if that influence had been protective. During a KC, Break in the formal session, Mi Young found herself surrounded by representatives asking technical questions about the translation and the archives. Many wanted to know if the evidence could be interpreted differently, if there was any chance they had made a mistake. Is there any possibility, asked the representative from the Kalari, that these records refer to a different species entirely? Perhaps the humans are simply living on a world that was once inhabited by these guardians? Mi Young had hoped someone would ask that question because she had already considered it. We thought about that possibility, but the coordinate match is exact, down to the precise location within the solar system. Either the humans are the guardians described in these myths, or they replaced them so completely that no trace of the original inhabitants remains. As the session resumed, Jinho was called to the podium to explain how he had discovered the coordinate match. As he described his routine translation work, the chamber became quiet again. The representatives seemed to realize that this discovery had been completely accidental. If we hadn't been randomly checking old files against current records, Jinho explained, we might never have found this connection. Which makes me wonder, what other things might we not know about species we consider familiar? That comment sent another wave of nervous energy through the chamber. If the humans had been hiding their true nature, what other secrets might exist among council members? The session was interrupted when an aide rushed to the chairman and whispered something urgent in his ear. The chairman's expression became very serious. Representatives, I have just received a report from our deep space monitoring stations. 3 separate phenomena have been detected that appear to be moving toward inhabited systems. Our scientists are calling them significant potential threats to multiple civilizations. The chamber erupted into concerned voices. Representatives demanded more information, but the chairman held up his hand for silence. The most concerning aspect of these reports, he continued, is that our monitoring systems show human ships moving to intercept all 3 phenomena. Ships that, according to our records, should not have been in those regions of space. Mi Young felt her heart sink. The timing couldn't be coincidental. Somehow the humans had known about these threats before the Council's own monitoring systems had detected them. Tejo stood up again, his voice full of anger. This proves it. The humans are not just hiding their past. They're actively operating in secret throughout the galaxy. How long have they been watching us? How long have they been manipulating events we thought were natural? But Yunji had a different interpretation. Or how long have they been protecting us from threats we didn't even know existed? The chamber fell into a tense silence as everyone realized that they were about to witness the truth about humanity firsthand. Whatever was happening in deep space right now would show the galaxy exactly what Earth's children were capable of. The chairman looked around the chamber at the frightened, confused, and angry faces of the galaxy's representatives. It appears, he said quietly, that we are about to learn whether humanity is our greatest threat or our greatest blessing. Perhaps both. Jaemin was reviewing trade agreements in his office when the message arrived. The communication came directly from Earth, marked with the highest priority codes he had ever seen. The message was short. Return to Earth immediately. Tell no one the real reason for your departure. Use family emergency as cover story. Time is critical. The message was signed by someone called Sojin, a name he didn't recognize, but the authentication codes were genuine, coming from the highest levels of Earth's government. Jaemin had been Earth's ambassador to the Galactic Council for 2 years, and he had never received anything like this. Within 6 hours, he was on a fast ship heading back to Earth. During the journey, he tried to think of reasons for the urgent recall. Maybe there had been some kind of political crisis at home. Maybe Earth was planning to withdraw from the Council. But deep inside, he felt that something much bigger was happening. When his ship entered Earth's solar system, Jaemin noticed something strange. There were more ships around Earth than usual, but they weren't the typical commercial vessels. These ships had designs he didn't recognize, sleek and efficient looking. They moved with a precision that seemed almost military, but they weren't like any military ships he had seen before. The landing port on Earth was busier than normal, but in a quiet, organized way. People moved with purpose, like they all knew exactly what they were supposed to be doing. No one seemed panicked or worried, but there was an energy in the air that Jaemin couldn't identify. A woman approached him as he left his ship. She was middle-aged with short black hair and calm, intelligent eyes. She wore simple civilian clothes, but she carried herself with the confidence of someone used to authority. Ambassador Jamin, I'm Sojin. Thank you for coming so quickly. Sojin, you sent the message? What's this about? What's the emergency? Not here. We'll talk somewhere more private. She led him to a ground vehicle that looked ordinary, but moved with unusual smoothness and silence. As they drove through the city, Jamin noticed more strange things. Construction projects that he didn't remember from his last visit to Earth. New buildings that seemed to have appeared overnight. People working with equipment he didn't recognize. So Jin, what exactly do you do for the government? She smiled, but it wasn't a happy smile. I'm a historian, actually. I study very old events and very long-term patterns. They drove to a building that looked like a normal office complex from the outside. Inside, however, it was clearly something much more sophisticated. The walls were lined with displays showing star charts, and people moved between workstations with the kind of focused efficiency Jamin associated with emergency response centers. Sojin led him to a small conference room and closed the door. The walls immediately became opaque, and Jamin realized they were now in a completely secure environment. Before I explain anything, Sojin said, I need you to understand that what I'm about to tell you will change how you see everything. Once you know this information, you can never go back to not knowing it. Are you ready for that? Jamin felt nervous, but he nodded. Tell me. The Galactic Council has discovered something about Earth, something we've been keeping secret for a very long time. 3 of their researchers found our real designation in their ancient archives. Our real designation? Earth isn't just another planet with another species that recently developed space travel. We've been in the galaxy much longer than we've told anyone. Much longer. So Jin activated a display that showed the galaxy from a perspective Jamin had never seen before. Instead of showing current political boundaries, it showed patterns of movement and influence that stretched back thousands of years. Humans aren't native to Earth, Jamin. We came here long ago, when the galaxy was younger and much more dangerous. We came here to rest, to recover, to prepare for the next time we would be needed. I don't understand. The next time we would be needed for what? To do what we've always done. To be the immune system of intelligent life. The display changed, showing different sectors of the galaxy highlighted in various colors. Every intelligent species faces certain challenges as they develop. Most species call them extinction events. Nuclear war, environmental collapse, technological disasters, encounters with hostile aliens. These challenges destroy most species before they can become truly spacefaring. But some species survive these challenges, Jamin said. Yes. And most of the time, they survive because we help them. Not directly, not obviously, but we help. We eliminate the specific threats that would destroy them. Then we disappear before they can thank us or ask questions. Sojin showed him historical data that made his head spin. Human settlements that weren't on any official maps. Human ships that had been operating in secret for centuries. Human agents working undercover in alien civilizations. Always watching for signs of approaching disasters. We've been doing this for so long that most species have forgotten we exist. They remember us only in myths and legends. Stories about mysterious guardians who appear in times of crisis, solve the unsolvable problem, then vanish. Why? Jamin asked. Why do we do this? Because someone has to. The galaxy is full of wonderful, creative, intelligent species, but it's also full of dangers that no single species can handle alone. Cosmic phenomena that can sterilize entire star systems. Aggressive alien empires that would consume everything in their path. Technological disasters that could spread like viruses from one civilization to another. The display showed current threat assessments that made Jamin feel sick. 17 different scenarios, each one capable of destroying multiple civilizations. Some were natural disasters. Others were the result of species making dangerous technological choices. Are these threats real? Are they happening now? Not now, but soon. Some in decades, others in centuries. We've been tracking all of them, preparing for all of them. Every human colony, every exploration mission, every scientific outpost, they're all positioned to respond to these future threats. So Jin showed him maps of human expansion that suddenly made sense in a completely different way. What had seemed like random exploration was actually a carefully planned network of response positions. Your diplomatic mission to the Council wasn't really about joining the galactic community. Sojin continued. It was about gathering current intelligence on the state of different civilizations, understanding which threats had accelerated and which ones we could delay. But why keep it secret? Why not just tell other species what we're doing? Because most species would react badly to learning that they've been protected without their knowledge. Some would feel insulted, like children being watched by adults. Others would become dependent, expecting us to solve all their problems. A few would see us as a threat to be eliminated. So Jin's expression became more serious. And because our methods aren't always gentle, sometimes to save 1 billion lives we have to make choices that individual civilizations wouldn't understand or approve of. What kind of choices? The kind that let people sleep peacefully at night without ever knowing how close they came to never waking up. Jamin sat quietly for several minutes, trying to absorb everything Sojin had told him. So what happens now? The council knows something is different about us. Now we have to decide whether to continue hiding or to reveal ourselves. And we have to make that decision quickly, because 3 of our monitored threats have accelerated their timelines. The Grey Tide phenomenon is moving faster than we predicted. 2 machine civilizations are showing signs of aggressive expansion toward inhabited systems. The threats are happening now? They're happening soon enough that we need to act. And when we act, it's going to be obvious to anyone watching that humans are much more than we've pretended to be. So Jin stood up and looked out through the conference room's window at the busy operations center. The galaxy is about to learn who we really are, Jamin. The question is whether they'll see us as guardians or as the monsters we sometimes have to become to keep the real monsters away. Jinho rubbed his tired eyes and stared at the screen again. The blue light from his computer made everything in the small office look cold and empty. He had been working for 6 hours straight, translating boring planetary files for the Galactic Council. Most days his job felt like the most unimportant work in the universe. The coffee in his cup had gone cold hours ago, but he drank it anyway. Around him, the archive chamber buzzed with quiet activity. Other translators sat at their desks, typing away at their own assignments. The sound of keyboards clicking filled the air like rain on a roof. Jinho picked up the next file from his stack. It was about Earth, the newest member of the Galactic Council. The humans had joined 3 years ago, and everyone thought they were nice enough. They brought interesting food to the meetings and told funny stories about their home planet. Most council members saw them as harmless. They had simple technology and seemed happy just to be part of the bigger galactic community. The file showed Earth's official designation as Terra 3. Jinho had translated dozens of similar files. Usually the work was straightforward. He would read the planetary information, check it against the star charts, and move on to the next file. But something about this one felt different. As he opened the star coordinate section, Jinho noticed something strange. The numbers looked familiar. He had seen them before somewhere else. He pulled up the master database and searched for the coordinates. The computer showed 2 results. One was the current Terra 3 designation. The other was much older. Jinho frowned at his screen. The second entry was marked with a red symbol he had never seen before. When he clicked on it, a message appeared. Access restricted, Forbidden Archives. Senior authorization required. The Forbidden Archives. Jinho had heard about them but never seen them. They contained the oldest records in council history, documents so ancient that most people had forgotten they existed. The story said these files held information that was too dangerous for regular access. His curiosity grew stronger than his caution. Jinho saved his current work and walked across the chamber to Mi Young's office. She was the head archivist, a serious woman who had worked with ancient documents for over 20 years. Her office was filled with old books and strange artifacts from across the galaxy. Mi Young, Jinho said, knocking on her open door. I need help with something. She looked up from her work. Her dark hair was pulled back in a tight bun, and she wore the thick glasses that all archivists seem to need. What is it, Jinho? You look troubled. I found a coordinate match between a current file and something in the Forbidden Archives. I need access to translate the old entry. Mi Young's expression changed instantly. She became very still, like a cat watching something dangerous. Which coordinates? Jinho showed her his screen. Mi Young looked at the numbers for a long time without speaking. Finally, she shook her head. No, absolutely not. Those archives are restricted for good reasons. But it's just a planetary designation, Jinho said. What could be dangerous about a planet's name? You don't understand, Mi Young replied. The forbidden archives contain knowledge that changed the course of galactic history. Some information is better left buried. Jin-Ho felt disappointed but not surprised. He had expected this response. However, he couldn't let it go. Something about those matching coordinates bothered him like a small stone in his shoe. Over the next 3 days, Jin-Ho kept thinking about the mysterious file. He researched everything he could about Earth without accessing the restricted archives. The humans seemed perfectly normal. They had wars and peace, art and science just like most species. Their planet was beautiful, with blue oceans and green continents. Nothing seemed dangerous or unusual, but the matching coordinates haunted him. Why would Earth's location appear in the oldest, most restricted files in Council history? On the 4th day, Jin-Ho approached Mi-young again. This time, he had prepared his argument carefully. Mi-young, I've been thinking about this all week. If there's something important about Earth in those old files, shouldn't we know about it? The humans are Council members now. They attend our meetings. They know our locations. They have access to our trade routes. If there's a security concern, we need to understand it. Mi-young studied his face for several minutes. She seemed to be having an internal debate with herself. Finally, she sighed deeply. You're right about one thing, she said. If there's a potential security issue, we can't ignore it. But I have conditions. First, only I will access the archives. Second, we do this together, so I can monitor what we're translating. Third, if I decide the information is too dangerous, we stop immediately and never speak of it again. Jin-Ho agreed quickly, afraid she might change her mind. That evening, after the other workers had gone home, Mi-young led Jin-Ho to a part of the archive chamber he had never seen before. They walked down a long hallway lined with metal doors. At the end of the hall, Mi-young placed her hand on a scanner. A heavy door slid open with a deep grinding sound. The forbidden archives looked different from the rest of the building. The walls were made of dark stone instead of metal. The air felt thick and old, like breathing inside a tomb. Ancient symbols covered the walls, glowing with a soft, eerie light. Mi-young walked to a specific shelf and pulled out a data crystal that looked much older than anything Jin-Ho had ever seen. She inserted it into a specialized reader that looked like it hadn't been used in years. Here are your coordinates, she said quietly. Jin-Ho looked at the screen. The text was written in old script, the ancient language that only senior archivists could read. But even he could see that this entry was much longer than a simple planetary designation. There were symbols and markings that suggested this was something far more complex. Mi-young began to translate, reading the ancient words slowly. As she worked, her face grew pale. Her hand started to shake slightly. She stopped several times, checking her translation against different reference materials. This can't be right, she whispered. What does it say? Jin-Ho asked. Mi-young looked at him with fear in her eyes. According to this ancient record, the coordinates we know as Terra 3, the location of Earth, have a much older name. A name that was written in our most sacred and terrifying texts. She paused, her voice becoming very quiet. The ancient name for Earth translates to the nursery of the Ender of Worlds. Jin-Ho felt the blood drain from his face. The room seemed to grow colder, and the glowing symbols on the walls appeared to pulse with a more sinister light. They stared at each other in the ancient chamber, both understanding that they had uncovered something that would change everything they thought they knew about their peaceful human neighbors. Mi-young could not sleep that night. She lay in her bed, staring at the ceiling, replaying the translation over and over in her mind. The nursery of the Ender of Worlds. The words felt wrong in her thoughts, like something her brain wanted to reject. She had spent 20 years working with ancient documents, but nothing had ever affected her like this. The text had been written in the oldest form of old script, older than any civilization currently in the Council. Someone had marked Earth's location as something terrible long before humans had even developed space travel. The next morning, Mi-young arrived at work early. She needed to verify the translation. In her experience, the most dangerous mistakes came from misunderstanding ancient languages. Maybe she had made an error. Maybe the symbols meant something else entirely. She used 3 different translation methods. First, she checked her work against the master old script dictionary. Then she ran the symbols through the quantum linguistic processor. Finally, she consulted the physical reference books that contained the oldest known translations. All 3 methods gave her the same result. The translation was correct. Jin-Ho arrived at his usual time and immediately came to her office. He looked as tired as she felt. Did you sleep at all? he asked. No, did you? No, I kept thinking about what we found. Young, what does that name even mean? The nursery of the Ender of Worlds sounds like something from a horror story. Mi Young had been thinking about the same thing. I need to show this to Hyunsu. He knows more about ancient history than anyone else in the council. Hyunsu was the director of historical records, a job that sounded boring but was actually one of the most important positions in the council. He was responsible for understanding the long patterns of galactic history, the events that shaped how different species interacted with each other. They found him in his office, surrounded by holographic displays showing timelines from different parts of the galaxy. Hyunsu was older than Mi Young, with gray hair and the kind of calm manner that came from seeing many strange things over the years. Mi Young, Jin Ho, you both look like you've seen a ghost. What's troubling you? Mi Young explained about the coordinate match and showed him their translation. As Hyunsu read the ancient text, his calm expression slowly changed to something much more serious. Where did you find this? He asked quietly. The Forbidden Archives. The coordinates match Earth's current location exactly. Hyunsu was quiet for several minutes. He pulled up different displays on his computer, searching through historical databases. Finally, he turned back to them. I need to show you something. Have either of you studied comparative mythology? A little, Jinho said. Why? Because every species in the galaxy has certain stories. Stories that are so similar they can't be coincidence. Yunsu activated a large display that showed the galactic map. Different colored dots marked the locations of various civilizations. The Vorthak have legends about the Starwalkers, he continued. Mysterious beings who appeared during their darkest hour and saved them from something called the consuming darkness. The Kalari tell stories of void shepherds who guided their ancestors away from a disaster they called the Machine Uprising. The Drakmor, despite being warriors, have myths about silent guardians who eliminated threats that even the Drakmor could not face. Hyunsu highlighted different sectors of the galaxy as he spoke. Every single species has these stories. But here's what's strange. They all describe the same type of beings. Beings who appeared when extinction was certain, eliminated the threat with impossible efficiency, then vanished without explanation. Mi Young felt a chill run down her spine. You think these stories are connected to our translation? I think these stories are all about the same beings, and I think those beings came from the place we now call Earth. Jinho shook his head. But that's impossible. Humans are new to space travel. They've only been in the galaxy for 3 years. Before that, they never left their solar system. Did they tell us that, or did we assume it? Yunsu asked. Think about it. When the humans first contacted us, they said they had developed faster-than-light travel recently. We believed them because they seemed technologically simple. But what if that was intentional? Hyunsu pulled up more files on his display. I've been studying the pattern of these myths for years. They're not random stories. They follow a specific sequence. Every species that survived what we call a great filter event has stories about mysterious saviors. Every species that didn't survive isn't here to tell us their story. What's a great filter event? Jinho asked. It's a theoretical concept in evolutionary biology. The idea is that there are certain challenges in the development of intelligent life that are so difficult, most species don't survive them. Nuclear war, artificial intelligence rebellion, environmental collapse, encounter with hostile alien species, events that could wipe out entire civilizations. Mi Young began to understand. You're saying that these mysterious beings, they help species survive their great filter events? That's exactly what I'm saying. And the myths always describe the same methods. The saviors never make themselves known to the general population. They work in secret with surgical precision. They eliminate the specific threat, then disappear. The only evidence they leave behind are stories passed down through generations. Hyunsu brought up a timeline on his display. Here's what's really interesting. These myths don't just describe past events. Some of them predict future ones. The Zentheran have an ancient prophecy about the return of the shepherds when the gray tide comes from beyond the rim. The Kalari myths speak of a time when the Guardians will reveal themselves to prevent the final machine war. Those sound like events that haven't happened yet, Jinho observed. Exactly. Which suggests that whoever these beings are, they think in terms of very long timescales. They plan not just for current threats, but for dangers that might emerge centuries or millennia in the future. Mi Young felt the pieces falling into place in her mind, creating a picture she didn't want to see. Hyunsu, are you saying that humans aren't new to the galaxy? That they've been here before? I'm saying that the evidence suggests humans have been quietly protecting this galaxy for a very, very long time. The name you found, the Nursery of the Ender of Worlds, it doesn't mean Earth produces destroyers. It means Earth produces the beings who end the things that would destroy worlds. The three of them sat in silence, looking at the galactic map with its countless civilizations. Each dot represented billions of lives, entire cultures, and histories. And if Hyunsu was right, many of those civilizations existed only because mysterious guardians from Earth had protected them from threats they never even knew existed. What do we do with this information? Jinho asked finally. That's the question that's been keeping me awake, Mi-young replied. If we're right, then humanity has been hiding their true nature from the entire galaxy. The question is, why are they hiding, and what happens if we expose them? Hyunsu looked at both of them seriously. Before we make any decisions, we need more information. We need to understand not just what humans have done in the past, but what they're doing right now. And we need to figure out if there are current threats that they're already working to prevent. As they left Hyunsu's office, Mi-young realized that their simple translation project had become something much bigger and more dangerous. They weren't just uncovering ancient history anymore. They were potentially exposing the galaxy's secret protectors, and they had no idea what the consequences might be.